first of all, thank you for speaking to me.
Thank you for
This
speaking to me.
book was so amazing. I
Really?
loved, I love the way how you tell stories. I love the writing, and I loved how you weaved in both the past with being on set, with the show, with your future and everything about that. What I wanted to know is, can you kind of talk about that structure
Yeah.
of weaving those stories in?
That was one of the first challenges, actually. I had a very big wall. It was like a crime scene. You know, when you're putting together like a serial killer wall, uh,
Mhm.
I had like a big whiteboard and I was trying to like connect things because I wanted like stories. As you just said, I wanted stories from my past to reflect things that happened in Game of Thrones. And maybe I had a bit of growth on set and that maybe affected me. And it was hard to tie those together, especially as a first time author. Um, I did get some help to tie it together because, as I say, I didn't have the experience in doing that, but
Right.
it was a very it was an involved process. Let's put it that way. Um, but it's almost like therapy in a way.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I feel like I knew myself pretty well before the book. I know myself better.
Okay. So then with that said, how did you know? I know you said you had help.
Mm.
Which stories would match with which one? Because you've been alive for a very long time. So
Oh my
there's a
God,
lot. No, in a good
I would
way.
again.
You have experience, you have careers, you have growth,
I
but
know.
to match what moment would be more important compared to another moment.
You know what it is? It's the moments where you step out. You step out into your life. It
Mhm.
was like my first moment on set, my first moment in drag, my first moment walking onto a stage and talking to people. Those are all the important parts. They're the parts for me that if you imagine your life is like a slope of a mountain and you've got a big boulder at the top, which is really heavy, and you need to get that pushed down.
Mhm.
That's those three times, or that was me pushing with all my might, and then that starts the ball rolling for the rest of
Right.
my life. So I would tie those three moments together, um, and just finding your voice, because of that, because of those moments. So that's why I always try to encourage people is just say yes to things that scare you. Say yes to them because everything scares me, but I do it
Right.
anyway. You know. Um,
And
so yeah, those would be the three moments that I would tie together, probably that were most important.
you have women and that you write about, especially your mom, who are very strong influences in your life. Can you talk about not just the importance of them being involved within you, but how that has reflected in the choices that you have made, both career-wise and in your own personal life?
Well, as you can read in the book, like I wouldn't have even probably have taken the role of Hodor if it wasn't for my mother.
Mhm.
She gave me the reassurance, and she had read the books, and she told me that this monosyllabic, oh, actually duosyllabic, Hodor is two syllables, a mono-worded person is going to be important in some way, because all I saw was Hodor, and I saw the word Hodor, and so she convinced me with that. But it just shows the level of importance that these incredible women have had in my life, and both my grandmother and my mother raised me. My grandmother would have taken the place of my father, really, in a way. I can't understate the importance that my mother especially, has had in my life. We're basically the same person.
Mhm.
Um, I've said this before. When people meet us, it often becomes a tennis match with you being the ball. It's like we just
Right.
bounce between us. It's the same person. So the importance and the respect I have for people, and I respect people who differ from me. I respect people who disagree with my political opinions and my personal opinions and every opinion because I think we're all the same. And
Mhm.
that comes from my mum, because she never treated anybody any different, unless you're a dickhead. Um,
Right.
that's universal.
I understand. Your career, I love the part. We get into the acting soon, but you're a DJ as well, and music
Yeah.
is such a driving force. You talk about heavy metal music kind of being that door that opened yourself to all being a DJ essentially. So
Yeah.
can you talk about that kind of artistic appeal?
Mhm.
And you also doing acting as well, and that choice of balance between the two
Mhm.
without kind of really having to say no to both. There's a moment of pause,
Yeah.
but you don't say both to no.
Well, see, I don't really know how to balance. That's the truth. That I don't balance. I just go, and let. I'm kind of a chaotic person. That is the truth. And well, I always be. I've tried to be more organized in career and in personal life, but I'm that boulder. I'm the boulder that's. I don't know why it's coming back to that analogy. Oh my god! But to tie it back, um, yeah, I feel like the boulder sometimes, but I'm very lucky to be rolling down a hill that I have created, and I'm happy in any direction I go. People always ask what's the difference in the two, and to me there is no difference. It's just this place inside me where I feel happy, and I realized that during the book, actually, I realized that I'm addicted to expressing myself,
Mhm.
and that's the key. I'm
Right.
addicted to like getting what's in here out there, um, and that's kind of what I roll with.
Do you feel that that was because you was misunderstood or not understood fully?
But I also think that people love to put words in your mouth here,
Mhm.
I don't let people do that. I will say the truth. Like when people say, "Oh no, you don't really think that," I really actually makes me mad. I'm like, I'm here. I'm telling
Right.
you, it's the truth. But yeah, I just yeah, that's really important to me.
Now, what going to jump into Game of Thrones because Beyond the Throne, so it's a huge part of the book as well.
It is.
Um, I love how you interpreted Hodor as just simply emotional. And you went in and they asked you, how would you say it? And you said it comes from more of an emotion.
Mhm.
People would have just played it straight way, but it's more of an emotion. I didn't realize that
Yeah,
until
I didn't
reflecting.
plan. Yeah, I didn't plan how I was going to say it ever.
Right.
I just was there. I was present, and I was picking up the energy and the vibe and what the people were saying. Really, really carefully listening because that is. I know people say acting is reacting. That's true. It is true. You have to be so present, and you have to really be aware of what's happening. And that's complicated. And then to bring it to a really simple character, which really isn't simple, um,
Mhm.
that was a challenge I really liked.
Right.
As someone who is quite verbal, um, I love being verbal. I talk far too much, and it was a nice change to express myself in a different way. But I did have practice in non-verbal communication because I had hearing problems when I was a child, and I
Right.
would have to lip read people and sort of try and pick up on their vibe to see what they were saying. I still have to, being a DJ also, because people are talking away and you're like, what? But so I've learned to read people, and that in a way has taught me how to express. You know,
Mhm. Did you carry that journey throughout the Game of Thrones arc? Because, again, only like one word, two syllables,
hmm
but there is so much emotion to the character that I think obviously poured through the screen that
yeah,
people originally had within the text.
yeah.
When looking at the script, do you go through the emotional beats of the character? How did you interpret that character?
I did read the script obviously very closely, but then I would
Mhm.
try to not forget about it. But Hodor wasn't stupid, I don't think, but he was quite reactionary. He would
Mhm.
have planned how he was going to be feeling, so I didn't want to look like I was planning that. And there were other elements that I brought in from my real life, like I brought in my shyness from being a teenager. I kind of tried to go back there a little bit,
Mhm.
um, and I definitely tried to bring that into Hodor. Um, but it was definitely more reactionary. But I did know what was going to be happening. Like it wasn't just like a. Yeah, I did think about that. I did actually think about just being there as a reaction. But yeah, there was a very specific number of Hodors required. I didn't want to be like just firing at a
Right.
Hodor here and there. I don't think anyone would have wanted that.
Understood, understood. What I love also is you talk about the relationship that you have with, especially with Bran, the actor who plays
Yeah,
Bran,
I do.
because you went there, you took almost, 16-hour day shootings, multiple days, and there's this really great kinship with not just him, but the mother as well, and you form a family
Yeah.
within that group. What would you say that Game of Thrones and especially that friendship kind of gave you during that time on set? Because it's a lot going on. It's very easy to lose yourself. You describe it on your first day on set.
Right.
It's easy to get lost in.
Really lost. And honestly, Isaac and his family became like an anchor for me. And I think in return, I probably became an anchor for him as well. I was always a real voice for him, always a real voice because he's basically a very old soul in a young body.
Right.
You could always talk to Isaac like an adult with some editing. Obviously, no editing from about the age of 14. He knew everything. He knew more than I did at 14. But that was a really important thing for me on the set. It grounded me, and it gave me a little brother that I never had before. And I still have. I actually saw him last night. So, yeah, he's just like a little brother. Also a pain in my ass sometimes, but that's a little brother.
A little brother, yeah. This book also touches upon kind of your sexual awakening.
Yeah.
Kind of realizing that you are gay. And so what I loved here is that you take us through the emotions and the feelings of it. And so how do you, that moment of kind of understanding yourself, how do you feel that as an adult now, that was, do you feel that was positively handled and it made you the person that you are today in terms of your confidence and self-awareness and knowing who you are as a person and even probably the roles that you choose?
Certainly. And that's why I'm so grateful to the people in my book, because if they hadn't been so accepting, most of them, they gave me the power to handle the people who weren't, because obviously, you know what? I don't expect everyone to. I don't, you know what I mean? Whatever. We all have our own political, as I say, opinions, but just as long as we leave each other alone and get on with it, I'm pretty fine with that, But that reaction back then and how I came out, it gave me the strength to just get through it all, honestly, knowing I had support behind me. And I know I'm lucky for that. I didn't have support from everybody, of course, but I know there are people out there with no support. And it's just, you got to find your tribe. You got to find your tribe. That's the most important thing. Even outside of family, it's so important.
Right.
So,
well, so then with people that are going through the same issue, this is a very hostile climate. It's always been, God felt, maybe hostile.
yeah.
Do you feel that the navigational system of understanding and knowing who you are and being positive within your own sexuality is kind of the same as what you've went through, even though we're generations apart?
Everyone just wants to be happy.
Right.
I think that's the main thing, and we just need to let each other be happy. Things may have changed, but prejudices are the same, I think. And where it has got less, it really has got less. Definitely, I can only speak as a gay man. I don't know with other minorities. I don't know, but I'm sure it's that changed. Well, in fact, I watch the news. I know it's not the case. So, it's. I just wish we were a little bit further on. I don't just mean being gay is a very small part of my life for me. It's very important, but it's a very small part of. I mean, who cares who I sleep with? I don't care who anyone else sleeps with. It's not really that interesting. I'm not even really that interested in who I do it with. But it's just such a small part. People just want to be happy, and that has not changed. It may have changed, like in process, but I think we just need to look at letting each other inhabit our own space, be who we are, and just be happy.
Right. I loved how you described Ireland, coming from this very small town, not even a town, it's just like a farm.
Yeah.
You and animals in a very small school. I was like, I thought I was small with 100 people in my class, in the school in general. You was like, no, it's us, maybe 5 kids. Yeah. I love how you described that. And so going into the big city and that kind of cultural shock, can you talk about the appreciation kind of for both worlds?
Yeah, because you can have both. That's important to realize, because I think at certain stages in your life, you think you have to choose between them. And maybe you do at some stages, but I've got to 48 now, and I love to be in the city, and I love to be at home on the farm. Well, I don't have a farm. I have a house in the country. So I do have animals. So, but growing up on the farm, it was quite lonely in a way, but my mum was also my playmate. As you saw in the book, we used to do everything together, and she kept me very occupied. And I always felt like a country person in the city, although I did feel at home in the city. I always
Mhm.
knew I had that escape, and that was very important for me. I could never stay, as much as I love New York. After a week here, I'll be like clamoring to get out like a rat and see some some fields. But they both have their merits, and I think it's healthy for everyone to have a bit of both.
Right. I was so jealous. I was like, I wish I was in Ireland with you. You described it so lovely and peaceful.
It's so beautiful. Please come visit. It's a really beautiful place.
Yes, yes, yes. So, what I want to talk about is why now? Did you feel that this time, to say your story, as opposed to not earlier or even older? When you're older, you're very young.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Well, no, it's not. I don't see this as a. It's not a autobiography. It's a memoir. It's a certain
Mhm.
time in my life. I hope to write another one. I hope to write another one after this. I don't think my journey's over. By any means. God, I hope not. But yeah, it was basically my manager and I. We always toured together when I was DJing, and I would consistently over dinner be telling him stories about my life. And I just remember one day he looked at me and said, "You need to write this down. You need to
Right,
write this down, and you need to tell people because this is not really that normal." But I actually think it is normal. I think we all go through this stuff. But it's just nice to hear it in a public realm because you're not the only one. You know.
right.
But then, and timing wise, I've just finished our flag and stuff. Auditioning for other parts and writing music, and I'm working on poetry and I'm working on books. It just was the right time right now
Right.
because I feel like I'm about to start on something new. While continuing to act and DJ, I feel like I'm about to embark on something new. So this is kind of not putting it behind me. It's always part of me, but that's that. No, that's what's new.
Can we talk about Our Flag is Death?
Of course,
I love that show. Like
I love this
the
too.
way how I love how it tackles comedy, but it's love and it's brotherhood and it's friendship all at once. Can you tell me about with that role? What do you feel it is given to you as a person, and not just as a person, but also within your career that you use as that toolbox to go into?
Okay, I mean that role. The
Mhm,
fans of Our Flag Means Death. I can't tell you. I mean, obviously, I think Game of Thrones would have a broader fan base, but
mhm.
when it comes to passion, I've never seen anything like it. And they're so sweet, everybody, and they're so generous with their time, and they really tried to get another season. They really
Right.
fought to get another season, and it just breaks my heart that they didn't get it. It breaks my heart for all of us as well, obviously. But that role, honestly, that was a role that was cemented. That I realized the role was kind of written for me. I sort of that hadn't happened for me before, and I kind of went. The more I am myself here within occupying a different character, the better it's going to be. So
Mm.
that's why most of the stuff you saw that Wee John Feeney did was all improvised. And it was like the tailoring thing about dresses and all that was literally just riffing with Reese on set. And then that
Right.
became part of my character. And I remember there was a line I said I used to create dresses for my mother back home in Dublin or something. And that's actually a reversal. It was actually my mother making dresses for me back home in Belfast of the reality. So in a way, I was warping reality to make it more real.
Right.
Um, but he was just a big sarcastic Irish shite, and that's pretty much me. So that's why it was so much fun to play. And honestly, the crew is a crew. We're a crew.
Right.
They'll all say this. I know they will, and I'll slap them silly if they disagree with me. Um, they are the nicest people I've ever worked with. Um, Obviously, the Game of Thrones people were awesome too, but we were like on a boat together, so we really got down to it. Like I would like to work with them all again. Um,
Right.
but I actually have this idea that I would love to see the crew. If we did another season, we wouldn't even have to do it as pirates. We could even do a different episode for like in a different scenario. We could put the crew. We could call it crew. I've actually just. Am I pitching? I'm pitching.
You're
Okay,
pitching.
I'm pitching.
Pitching.
Yeah, like a different. I could just call it crew. I would like be in
Mhm.
an office one week on a spaceship in a post op. You know what I mean? Or a bank. And all these ridiculous characters in different scenarios because all the characters are fully formed, and
Right.
I just would love to work with it again. And the fan base is everything.
What I love is the improv, and
Mhm.
that requires a completely different set of skills.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
something I learned because I didn't really have that much experience. And obviously, with Taika being a comedy master and his certain way of doing things, my God, I had to learn fast. And also Reese Darby is
Right.
an amazing improviser. Con O'Neill, everybody. Nathan, who plays Lucius, he's an amazing comedy improviser. So you had to be on your toes. So that's now something I have in my arsenal. I didn't have before. But do you know what? I did have it. It's just you have to let go. You're never
Right.
fully formed. You're never fully. You're always peeling off layers from yourself. And you know, at 40, I think it was 45 then. I'm still learning. So I love that though.
Do you feel that you have to be more reactionary, or is it more of listening? Because you're the ad lib, you're creating words and could be creating scenarios.
Well, it's the listening is so important.
Right.
And honestly, I have a terrible attention span. So that is a bit of a challenge for me. I'm like Mr. ADHD. And yeah, I move on to other things within seconds. So I really
Mhm.
had to be like, he's saying this, and then thinking about glittery things. Oh yeah, sorry, what did you say? Yeah, that's terrible. But yeah, at work, I do focus on really, really listening.
Right. So talk about the future. You are writing, you're DJing, you're auditioning. Can you tell me what it is that you want to pursue, either in genre, or is it writing more and creating your own scripts?
I haven't really thought about scripts.
Mhm.
Obviously, for years I have, but I have been writing some poetry. But I've really got into the sort of. I think it's because I'm away so much, but I've really gotten into the Irish like literature, poetry, and music
Mhm.
because obviously it's part of me.
Right.
And being away so much, you always find that you become more fond of those things when you're away from your home.
Right.
Um, so I'm writing poetry at the minute. I'll see if it's ever going to see the light of day. I'm thinking about working on some fiction. Who knows? But I do have all the ideas ready to go. Um, and I don't know what the future holds. I'm happy enough about that. I'm
Mhm.
very excited to see what it holds. I realize that most plans these days probably don't work out. So um, I'm ready to roll the punches and see what the future holds. I'm excited about it.
Wonderful. I look forward to anything that you do.
Well, I
You are
appreciate that.
fantastic at everything that you do. And again, the book Beyond the Throne, September 24th is the release date, and it is fantastic. And thank you for sharing your stories with us.
No, well, thank you for reading it. That means a lot, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you. No problem.
Thank you.